AutoCAD offers some very powerful tools for creating and editing center lines and center marks. Let's open up an example file. Type in the word open, O-P-E-N, on the keyboard, press enter, and find the file called Centerline. Click open. This is just a very basic file. It has a circle, an arc, two parallel lines, and then two lines that are not parallel. Center lines, before, you would just have to draw lines to show them, and they were just lines. But with this command, you can access a set of tools that are smart. They will set to automatic style settings, and they will move around and stay with the line work that you associate them with. That's why they're called associative center lines. They're center marks that associate or relate to a specific object. So if you go to the Annotate tab on your ribbon, and you move over here to the right, you'll find a Centerlines panel. There are two different types of associative center lines. A standard center line. This will create a line that stays geometrically in between two other lines, like the center line of a road, the center line of a pipe, that type of thing. You're typically looking at two objects like this here, and it'll be the center between them. Now, the center mark command, that is an associative center mark that goes with like a cross-sectional view of a pipe or of a tree trunk. That would be at the center of your circle here or the center of your arc. Now, when you create either one of these, the center mark or the center line, it will be associated to the line work that you associate it to, and it's going to stay with them. So it's really cool. If you click on center mark right here, and then you pick either your arc or your center line, and you can do more than one at a time. You can just keep doing it. Let me see if I click on this line, it doesn't do anything. It has to be a circle or an arc. Then press enter. So now you have this associated object, and it is associated to the circle. If I start the move command, type in M on the keyboard and press enter, select the circle, press enter again, click anywhere, and you can see it's moving with it. And if I were to delete the circle, obviously that would go away. Same thing goes for the center mark of an arc. If I go to my move command, I select the arc, it moves with it. If I change the diameter or the radius of my circle, the center marks go with it. If I go bigger or if I go smaller. Same thing with this arc. If I change the center of my arc, as I'm doing here, the center mark goes with the center of that arc. They're attached to it. Now, if you press the Control key and the 1 key all at the same time, you'll open up your Properties palette. And when you select your center mark, you'll see it comes up as center mark, gives you your standard color, layer, line type. You also have some options down here. You can change your cross size. It starts off at 0.1. Let's just do something extreme, like go to a full 1. You'll see that the cross in the middle here is even bigger than before. My gap, that's the gap between the cross here. I can change that. I can also change the left extension. This is the left, this is the right, top and bottom. I can grip edit these. I can stretch them out. I can bring them in all the way to the circle. I can bring them inside the circle as well. And you'll notice as I change these items, this changes here as well. Now you can also turn off the extensions and have just the center mark. So that might be a way that you want to use it. Now if I do a match properties on this mark here, and I go to this mark, it will adopt those properties. So that's something that's really nice. The edits for this arc here are exactly the same here because they're both center marks. So I can change it to whatever. Now you might notice here that I have some of these settings that are a little off. Maybe I want to reset those, and you can, because all of those have different settings. There's Center EXE, that controls the length of the extension lines. So you can set that in your file. There's Center Mark EXE, again, it's for the center mark. Center Layer, which controls the layer that they go on. Center Line Type Scale, Center Cross Size, Center Gap. All of those work universally in your file, and you can edit each individual one here as well. Now, if you want to, you can use the Center Reset command. Press Enter, and let's click on these, and it puts your center line extensions back the way you want it. So that's the center mark. The center line is very similar to this. Go to the Annotate tab on the ribbon, Centerlines panel, click on the Centerline command. Now it asks me to pick the first line. So I'll pick my first line. Then it asks me to pick my second line. And it draws the center line in. If I were to move one of these lines, you can see in the preview that center line is staying in the center between these two lines. Now, if I rotate these lines, this rotates with it. And again, I can grip edit it. I can change these. I can extend it. I can move this to a certain line. So it works very similarly. And I have similar controls in my properties palette, start extension, end extension, things like that. Now the center reset command, if I select it, will reset it. But you'll notice this line is no longer moving when I move my other line. So my center line is no longer associated because I used this little center grip edit. So how can I get that back? If a center line or a center mark loses association with your objects, you can use the command center reassociate. Select the center mark or center line. I want to pick that first. Then I pick my first line. Then I pick my second line. It'll put it back in the middle and keep it right there. Now, one of the really cool things about center lines is that you can use them on more than just lines that are parallel. For example, these two lines here are clearly not parallel, but they do have an angular center line between them. To extend these two lines out to a vertex, start your center line there and come out here. It would bisect this angle and it's going to stay in the center. So I'm going to click the center line command, pick my first line, pick my second line, and there's my center line. This is a really cool tool that you could use if you have an angle and you need to find the middle of that angle. You don't have to measure anything, just use your center line tool to find that middle of that angle. It's associated to both of these. So as I move any of these angles, if I move the line to a different angle, to a different location, or if I even intersect them, this center line stays associated to those two lines. It's always bisecting the angle that the two lines make, dividing it up into two equal angles. So if I were to measure these angles here, see that's 53 degrees. That is also 53 degrees. So that's what's going on with your center marks and your center lines. They can help you out quite a bit if you need to locate or show where the center line is, and you don't have to worry about that center line moving if your arc or lines move.